Rain hammered the airport glass like someone was knocking out a warning in Morse code. Not the kind of drizzle that makes people romantic. This was heavy, cold, relentless rain, the kind that turns every delay into a slow-motion disaster. Amani Cross tugged her beige trenchcoat collar higher, fingers tightening around the handle of the worn leather suitcase that had followed her through too many boardrooms. She didn't like new luggage. New luggage invited questions, and Amani didn't need one more conversation today. She'd just survived 72 hours in rooms that smelled like stale coffee and sharp negotiation, where contracts were carved into numbers, and every number could change the future of a company. Amani was tired. Tired enough to put her whole life on mute if she could. But she still walked straight. Habit. Discipline. The kind of posture you earn after you've had to stand yourself back up more times than you'd ever admit. She checked the screen. Flight T918, New York gives Paris. Priority boarding. The gate was open. She heard the muffled announcements, the hiss of rolling suitcases, the click of high heels racing time. She wanted one thing: first class, a closed door, and the world reduced to distant noise on the other side. Amani wore no jewelry, no luxury watch, no logo bag. Her hair was tied in a neat bun, black leggings, clean loafers, so simple she nearly disappeared. She looked like a woman finishing a long work week, not like someone whose signature could rattle an entire logistics market. She wasn't wearing her title today. She was just a passenger who wanted peace. Amani wore no jewelry, no luxury watch, no logo bag. Her hair was tied in a neat bun, black leggings, clean loafers, so simple she nearly disappeared. She looked like a woman finishing a long work week, not like someone whose signature could rattle an entire logistics market. She wasn't wearing her title today. She was just a passenger who wanted peace. The gate agent smiled professionally. "Welcome, Ms. Crass. Your seat is Suite 2A. Have a pleasant flight." Amani nodded with a thin, polite smile. She stepped into the jet bridge. Cool aircraft air hit her face. She turned left into the newly configured first-class cabin private pods, with sliding doors, soft amber lighting, hotel quiet luxury. It should have been a sanctuary. Until she reached Suite 2A, someone was already sitting there. A woman in a canary yellow blazer with oversized gold buttons so loud they practically screamed, "Look at me!" Blonde hair shellacked into a helmet of hairspray. Oversized sunglasses hiding half her face. She leaned back with her feet up on the ottoman, mimosa in hand, looking like she owned the aircraft. And it didn't stop there. A flashy tote covered in logos sat proudly and sweet to be like a silent claim. "This entire row is mine." Amani stopped for a single beat. She checked her boarding pass again. To A. Amani Cross. Clear as daylight. She inhaled, stepped forward, and kept her voice calm. "Excuse me," she said gently. "You're in my seat." The woman didn't look up. Acrylic nails clicked hard against her phone screen like a countdown. Amani waited. "Excuse me," she repeated, a touch louder. Finally, the woman lowered her phone and peered over the rim of her sunglasses. Her icy blue eyes carried instant dismissal. "The restroom is in the back," she said flatly. "And if you boarded the wrong door, economy boards through the second entrance." Amani didn't blink. "I'm not looking for the restroom," she said. "You're in my seat, Suite 2, eh?" A short, dry laugh snapped out of the woman's mouth. "No, I'm not," she said, dragging the last word. "This is first class." Her gaze swept from Amani's bun to her leggings, to her unbranded shoes, measuring her like a price tag. "You sure about that?" she asked, like Amani had just claimed to be an astronaut. Amani held up her phone. The screen glowed. To A. Amani Cross. If there's a mix-up, we can ask the crew to verify, Amani said. I just want my assigned seat. The woman rolled her lips into a smug line. Then, like she was summoning staff in a private club, she snapped her fingers into the air. "Attendant!" she called loudly. A young flight attendant hurried over. Her name tag read Sophia. Her expression was stretched tight weather delays, a late flight, and first-class passengers who treated rules like suggestions. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help?" Sophia asked. The woman gestured at Amani with her mimosa tilted dangerously. "This person is harassing me," she said. "She's demanding my seat. Please take her back to where she belongs. I need quiet." Sophia glanced at Amani. Amani lifted her phone again, steady. "My seat is 2A. Sophia checked the screen, then her tablet. In a single second, Sophia's face went pale, not from fear of conflict, but from seeing a name that came with internal notes and big red flags. She swallowed and turned back to the woman in yellow. "Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass, please?" The woman huffed. Ridiculous. She dug into her bag, yanked out a crumpled paper pass, and tossed it at Sophia. Sophia scanned it. Her voice trembled, barely. "Ma'am, your seat is 4D. Still first class, just in the rear section. Suite A belongs to Ms. Kras." Amani expected the woman to stand and move. But the woman didn't shift an inch. She crossed her arms, sank deeper into the seat, and said one word: "No." The entire cabin seemed to go silent. Amani lifted her eyebrows. "Excuse me." "I said no," the woman repeated, sweet and sharp. "I'm settled. I'm comfortable. I have back issues. I need this space." "You can take 4D, Amani said evenly. "You're still in first class, just not this pod." The woman smirked and took another sip. "You're young," she said, lingering on the word like it justified everything. "You look healthy. You can sit in the back." "What's the difference?" Amani felt her heartbeat shift not into rage, but into something colder and more precise. "The difference," she said, her voice dropping slightly, "is that I paid for this seat. And I'm not switching." The woman set down her glass and stared at Amani like Amani had forgotten her role. "Then get off the plane," she said. "Or go to coach. That fits you better." The sentence landed like a stone. Sophia froze. Nearby passengers started to look up, someone slid off a headset, someone lifted their eyes over a laptop screen. Amani stood still, eyes locked on the woman in yellow. Sophia tried again, careful and professional. "Ma'am, regulations require passengers to sit in their assigned seats for takeoff. If you refuse, we'll have to involve the lead attendant and the captain." The woman's jaw tightened. "Are you threatening me?" Then, as if she wanted the whole cabin to witness her power, she slammed her glass onto the tray table. Crack. The stem snapped. Glass shattered. Orange juice and champagne splashed down onto the carpet, onto the pod wall, and onto Amani's loafers. The cabin inhaled as one. The woman screamed, "Look what you made me do! This is your fault, all of you!" She turned on Amani, eyes blazing with the confidence of someone who'd always been allowed to win. "You walk in here with cheap hair and an aggressive attitude," she spat, "and you ruin my flight." Amani looked down at her soaked shoes. She didn't crouch to wipe them. She simply raised her gaze, voice calm. "You just damaged airline property." The woman laughed. "Oh, please. What are you going to do?" "Call your lawyer." Then she tilted her head, cruelly amused. "Or are you one of those diversity upgrades?" She sneered, dragging the word like it was dirty. "You belong in coach. That's where people like you don't have to pretend you fit up here." No one said it out loud, but everyone understood what had just entered the cabin. This wasn't a seat dispute anymore. This was contempt. A man across the aisle, hoodie, quiet, face half hidden, lowered his headphones. "Lady," he said, voice rough, "you're out of line. Take your assigned seat." The woman snapped, "Mind your business." Sophia pressed the call button for the lead attendant. Seconds later, a middle-aged woman with a decisive stride appeared from the galley. A name tag read Renee. She took in the wet carpet, the glass shards, Sophia's tight expression, and then the woman in yellow, planted like a throne. "What's happening here?" Renee asked. The woman instantly switched into victim mode. "She attacked me. She's trying to steal my seat. I'm terrified." Amani didn't interrupt. She looked at Renee and spoke clearly. "My name is Amani Cross. My boarding pass is Suite 2. This passenger is in the wrong seat. Refuses to move, broke a glass, and used discriminatory language. I'd like the airline to enforce the policy." Renee turned to the woman. "Ma'am, please move to seat 4D immediately." The woman let out a sharp laugh. "Do you know who my husband is?" "It doesn't matter," Renee replied. "My husband is Graham Davenport," the woman said loudly, like she was dropping a bomb. "He knows important people. You touch me, you lose your job. I will sue." Renee didn't flinch. "You need to move. If you refuse, I will notify the captain." "Go ahead," the woman challenged. "Call the president." "I'm not going anywhere." Amani leaned back slightly against the bulkhead. Inside, she wasn't angry anymore. She was watching someone dig their own grave with their mouth. Renee called the cockpit. Soon, the cockpit door opened. The captain stepped out tall, salt-tanned pepper hair, sharp eyes. The name stitched on his uniform read, Captain Howard Blake. He scanned the glass shards and the stain, then focused on the woman in yellow, seated like royalty. "Problem?" he asked, voice low and firm. Renee explained quickly. The captain turned to the woman. "Ma'am, you need to move to your assigned seat. That is a direct instruction from the crew." The woman softened her expression, trying charm. "Captain, I just need this pod for my health. Everyone's making it dramatic. We don't want to delay the flight over a seat, do we?" Captain Blake looked at Amani. Amani said nothing. She just held his gaze. And in that moment, the captain's eyes changed, not because Amani looked fragile, but because he recognized her. Not from television. From industry briefings and internal memos. Amani Crossi, EO of Orem Sky Systems, the company providing the route optimization and cargo coordination software his airline depended on. The captain inhaled. His tone shifted, respectful. "Ms. Kress," he said, nodding, "I apologize for this inconvenience." The woman's face twisted. "Oh, wow. She knows you. How exactly does she know you?" The cabin gasped. Captain Blake's jaw tightened. "That's enough." He turned to Renee. "Is the jet bridge still connected?" "Yes, Captain." "Hold the aircraft at the gate," he announced, loud enough for the whole cabin. "Call airport security. We are not departing until this disruptive passenger is removed." The woman lurched up. "You can't do that. I have an event in Paris. My husband?" "Your husband isn't flying this plane," the captain cut in. "I am. And I don't transport passengers who abuse my crew and disrupt operations." Amani stepped forward one pace, voice quiet but edged. "You're not just arguing over a seat," she said. "You're interfering with the flight." Outside the window, red-blue lights reflected across the wet glass as security vehicles arrived. A minute later, 3 airport security officers boarded. The lead, brown-skinned, solid Stans, wore a badge. Officer Delgado. The woman in yellow instantly pointed at Amani. Finally. Arrest her, she threatened me. Officer Delgado didn't answer immediately. She studied the broken glass, the captain, Renee, then the woman in yellow. Ma'am, Delgado said, are you the passenger refusing crew instructions? No, I'm the victim. Delgado pulled out zip ties, voice calm and icy. Please stand up. Hands behind your back. First class went dead silent. The woman stuttered. What? What is this? You're being removed from the aircraft, Delgado said. You're refusing direct instructions and causing disruption. The woman started yelling. No one can touch me. I'll sue. She grabbed the armrests. Delgado motioned. 2 officers stepped in. The woman fought. Her logo tote slammed into an officer's shoulder. The atmosphere snapped from tense to explosive. Stop resisting, Delgado ordered. But the woman lunged toward the hoodie man's phone he'd raised it to record. Don't film me, she screamed. The man replied flatly, you tried to make someone else a joke. Now it's your turn. They pulled her out of the seat. The yellow blazer wrinkled, one heel slipped off, hairspray perfect hair breaking loose. She was dragged into the aisle. She twisted back toward Amani, shouting, you did this! I'll get you fired! I'll find out who you are! Amani looked at her not with triumph, just exhaustion. Then Amani reached into her coat and pulled out a black business card with gold lettering thin, but heavy like a verdict. She slipped it into the pocket of the yellow blazer and said quietly, my name is Amani Cross. The woman stiffened. Amani Cross? She repeated, trying to place it. Amani added, each word deliberate. CEO of Aurum Sky Systems, the company holding the international coordination contract for Davenport Buildworks. Color drained from the woman's face. No, she breathed. Amani held her gaze. Stay safe, and tell your husband to hire a very good lawyer. Captain Blake's voice sealed it. Remove her from my aircraft. Her screaming faded up the jet bridge. The cabin erupted into applause, not crew, just relieved. Renee turned to Amani. I'm truly sorry, Ms. Crass. Amani nodded. It's not your fault. Sophia set down a fresh drink, hands still shaking. Amani looked at her and offered a small smile. You did well? Amani finally slid into Suite 2A. It was slightly damp, covered with a thick blanket. She could have ended it there. But the story wasn't finished. Amani pulled out her phone and called a private number. The line answered quickly. A man's voice, breathless, like he'd just left a meeting. Amani, you boarded already? Everything okay? Amani stared out at the rain. Graham, she said. Do you have a minute? Yeah, what's wrong? My flight was delayed, Amani said evenly. Because of a disruptive passenger. She was shouting, your name. She said she's your wife. Silence. Amani continued, voice steady, like a report. She broke a glass, insulted the crew, and used discriminatory language toward me because she decided I didn't belong in first class. My God, Graham stammered. Amani, I'm sorry. She has problems. She didn't know who you were. Knowing or not doesn't change what she did, Amani replied. Please don't drag this into the contract, he rushed. We're waiting on the shipment in Le Havre. If you halt. Amani cut him off, voice low and cold. You said contract before you said, I'm sorry. Graham went quiet. Amani lowered her voice. I don't do business with people who enable contempt. Tomorrow morning, my legal team will send termination notice. And you should prepare bail money. Your wife has been taken into airport custody. Amani, please. We've been partners for years. We were, Amani said. We aren't anymore. She ended the call. Switched to airplane mode. Reclined her seat. And just as the engines began to roar, she heard the hoodie man outside her pod murmuring to someone. This clip. It's hitting trending tonight. Amani closed her eyes. She didn't want a clip. She didn't want trending. But sometimes, the truth finds its own way into the light, fast, sharp, and impossible to stop. In the airport holding room, everything was the color of cold. Grey walls, metal benches, harsh fluorescent light that made everyone look unwell. The woman in the yellow blazer her name was Celia Davenport sat, slumped, barefoot because her heels had been bagged as evidence. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in 2 dark lines. She was allowed 1 phone call. Celia dialed Graham again. And again. The phone rang and rang. No answer. On the 6th attempt, someone picked up that it wasn't Graham. Mrs. Davenport, a man said, dry and exhausted. This is Mr. Davenport's attorney. Celia shot upright. Finally. Tell him to come now. I need bail. The lawyer's voice didn't change. He's handling a crisis? Crisis? Celia hissed. I'm in a holding cell. I'm the crisis. No, the lawyer said, and that single word made her stomach drop. You don't understand what's happening outside? Celia tightened her grip. What's happening? The lawyer exhaled like he was counting to 10. There's a video clear complete. You were recorded from the first moment to the last. Celia swallowed hard. Who filmed it? I didn't consent. Consent doesn't delete the internet, the lawyer cut in. Davenport Buildworks stock has dropped sharply in hours. Partners are calling. Banks are asking questions. The board held an emergency meeting. Celia's voice cracked. Over a seat? The lawyer paused, then said slowly, not over a seat. Over the attitude. The language. The public image of the CEO's wife humiliating people in first class. Celia felt her heartbeat thudding like a drum. What did Graham say? She asked, suddenly small. What did he say about me? The lawyer replied, blunt. He told me to tell you. Stop calling. Beep. The line went dead. The next morning, Celia went to court. The judge had already seen the footage. Bail was high. Conditions were strict. And a special note Celia was effectively grounded by multiple airlines while the case moved forward. When she stepped outside, cameras exploded like fireworks. People shouted questions, not as fans, but as a crowd circling a villain who'd been unmasked. Do you regret it? Do you really believe some people don't belong in first class? Is your husband leaving you? Celia tried to hide behind her bag ironically. The logo bag made her easier to recognize. She expected a car waiting. There wasn't one. She stood in the rain, shaking, ordering rides. 5 drivers cancelled. 1 finally accepted. At her estate gates, she typed the code. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. She pressed the intercom. Graham, it's me. The gate won't open. The speaker crackled. A strange man's voice answered new security. Mrs. Davenport, you are not permitted on the property. Celia blinked. What did you just say? Mr. Davenport filed an emergency order. You are barred from the premises. Your personal items have been packed and delivered to a hotel. The room is paid through the end of the week. Celia grabbed the iron bars. He can't do that. I live here. The guard's voice stayed flat. Please step away from the gate, or we will call police. Rain ran down Celia's face, mixing with makeup. For the first time in her life, no door opened because her name demanded it. Her phone buzzed a non not support. Termination notices. Beach Club, membership revoked. Gala Committee, invitation withdrawn. Premium credit card, account suspended. Friends she'd sworn were family, silent. And then came the killing blow: an email leaked to the press. Ormsky Systems announced it was ending all partnership with Davenport Buildworks due to moral and reputational violations. And it was pausing critical shipments en route to Europe. Without that shipment, their Paris project stalled. A stalled project meant loan defaults. Defaults meant banks tightened the noose. And when the board needed a scapegoat, someone easy to throw to the wolves, Celia became the perfect target. Days later, a process server knocked on her hotel door. Celia Davenport. Yes. You've been served. He handed her a thick envelope. Celia ripped it open, hands trembling. Divorce petition? Graham wasn't just leaving her. He was freezing assets, dumping reputational blame on her, and describing her in the coldest words imaginable. Severe reputational damage to the company? Celia slid down to the hotel carpet. The TV blared a news headline about the woman who delayed a flight and shook a market. She wanted to turn it off. But you can't mute consequences. Time passed. 6 months. The internet moved on to newer scandals. But Celia didn't. Every day at her small job, someone whispered, "That's the woman from the plane video." She used to sit in first class. Now she squeezed into the subway. She used to walk into ballrooms. Now she ate alone, chewing cold bread like it was shame itself. Then, one morning, she received a meeting request. Not from Graham. From Amani Cross. Location: Floor 46, Ormsky headquarters. Celia stood outside the glass tower and stared up like it was a mountain she had no right to climb. She wore a cheap grey suit that didn't fit right. No rings, no glow. Just survival. Inside, the conference room doors opened. Amani walked in. Not the exhausted traveler from a T918. This was Amani in full authority. A cream power suit, tailored perfectly. Long braids sleek and controlled, steps measured like a metronome. 2 corporate attorneys followed behind her, eyes sharp as blades. Amani didn't waste time on polite greetings. She took the seat at the head of the table and placed a folder down. Silence stretched until Celia could hear her own pulse. Amani studied Celia, voice calm. "You look different." Celia swallowed. Her eyes filled immediately. "I've had a hard year." Amani raised one eyebrow. "I'd call it a year of accountability." "Those are not the same." Celia's public defender cleared his throat, trying to sound confident. "Miss Cross, thank you for meeting. My client has pleaded guilty, paid the fines, and is complying with probation. If Ormsky proceeds with civil damages, the amount could leave her homeless." Amani didn't look at the lawyer. She looked at Celia. "When I stood at Suite 2A, Amani said slowly, I asked for one thing, to sit in the seat I purchased. I was exhausted. I wanted quiet."
She paused.
"But you looked at me and didn't see a person. You saw a label? You saw someone you decided didn't belong." Celia started crying, Iriel ugly sobs, not performance. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was arrogant. I was stupid. I thought I was untouchable. Now I have nothing. If you sue me, I'm finished." Amani watched her for a long moment. Then she opened the folder and slid a document across the table. Celia stared. "What is this?" Amani said. "A withdrawal of our civil claim. Ormsky won't pursue the damages my attorneys recommended." The public defender exhaled, like he'd been underwater. Thank you so much." Amani's eyes snapped sharp. "Don't thank me yet." She leaned forward slightly. I'm not calling this mercy. Amani tapped the paper once. I'm withdrawing the lawsuit under one condition. Celia wiped her face. Anything? I'll do anything. Amani nodded, like confirming terms. You will resign from your current job? Celia panicked. But I need the money. You will resign? Amani repeated. No negotiation. And you will work for me? Celia's mouth opened. Work? For you? Amani gave a short, humorless laugh. Not here. You're not qualified to work in this building. Amani stood and moved toward the window overlooking the city. You'll work for the Orenbridge Foundation, the Pathways program supporting brilliant young women from underfunded districts who are told every day they don't belong. Celia blinked. You want me to? Mentor them? God, no, Amani said. You have nothing to teach them about success. Celia lowered her head. Amani continued, calm and firm. You will do administrative support, make coffee, schedule interviews, prepare scholarship packets, book travelers, sometimes economy tickets. You will be the invisible support that helps these young women rise. Celia trembled. Is this punishment? Amani looked straight at her. It's a chance to repair something you broke. Amani's voice dropped. Dangerous. 2 years. You will look them in the eye every day. Learn their names. Learn their stories. Watch them surpass what you tried to deny them. Celia whispered. And if I refuse? Amani's fingers rested on the folder. Then I reinstate the lawsuit. And this time, I won't stop. Celia stared at the pen on the table. A signature could be a lifeline. Or a daily sentence of humility. She thought of the cold studio, the locked gate, the lawyer's deadline, the loneliness. Then she signed handshaking so hard, the letters came out crooked. Amani nodded to her attorneys. They collected the paper. Monday, 8 a.m., Amani said. Community Center in Harlem. Don't be late. Celia stood, clutching her cheap purse like it was all she had left. At the door, Amani called, Celia. Celia turned back. Yes, Amani said, quietly soft, but unforgettable. Wear comfortable shoes. On your first day, nobody sits in first class. Celia flushed, bowed her head, and left. The doors clicked shut. Amani remained alone in the room. No gloating. No victory dance. Just a long breath, as if balance had finally been restored. She tapped her earpiece. Sophia, her voice answered immediately. Sophia was now Amani's assistant, because Amani didn't forget the people who tried to do the right thing. Yes, Ms. Crass. Is the car ready? Waiting downstairs? And I booked the seat, like you asked. Amani allowed a small smile. Good. She walked out, heels tapping a steady rhythm on marble like a clock that never stopped. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds, washing the city in thin gold. If you look closely, this story was never really about a seat. It was about how people treat others when they believe they have power. And Celia's harshest lesson wasn't losing money, losing a home, or losing a marriage. It was this. The world is smaller than you think. And the people you step on today might be connected to the keys to your tomorrow.